The independent article talked about how actually huge amount of food allergies are because we have damaged skin.
If there's been a massive increase in these allergies, then there must be something in our environment that's causing this.
If we want to combat food allergies, we need to...
Sam and Kit Wowen-Russell, who really took skincare into their own hands.
Twin brothers from the UK who are taking the skincare industry by storm.
Sam is a nuclear astrophysicist, and Kit is a geophysicist and author.
A Notre Dame grad and his twin brother are looking to revolutionize skin health.
The two launched a 2-year intensive research study.
Two very smart guys who knew all about bad skin at a very early age.
That woman at the end was our mum, and really she's the face which launched 1,000 questions for us.
Right, Sam, the big breaking news this week, which I know you know, is that damaged skin could be causing all of your food allergies. I know you don't have any food allergies, do you, Sam?
No, not that I know of.
You don't. So
I used to try and pretend that I had food allergies to bean sprouts, but it was just because I hated them and Dad put them in salad.
bean sprouts when you're a 3-year-old is definitely really disgusting, I think. I think that should be banned under the Geneva Convention or something like that. Yeah, I understand that. So for you, it's not really a personal point of pain, but you can understand because we work with so many people who go through these horrible food allergies. You've seen all the pain firsthand. So you're like, this is like indirect smoking for you. You've seen the indirect pain, haven't you?
Yeah. So I've seen how many people we see. Say, I don't know the percentage, but a huge amount of people who come onto our programs who have skin allergies and skin diseases, they also have food allergies. And so we've always linked, because it makes sense to link the two. So that's why I love this breaking news. And I think everyone is going to be not only completely flabbergasted by it, but it's going to revolutionize everything within the way of treating food allergies and seeing just allergies in the whole body in general. So, okay.
Yeah.
You said the headline. So you said damaged skin could be causing food allergies, right?
Yeah. Obviously, I made it a bit more sensational. I said damaged skin could be the only cause of all of your food allergies, which is obviously not what the research is saying, but is a much bigger cause than everyone is giving it credit for so far. So I think, and you were saying that's a really important point. All of the people on our Skin Microbiome Fitness Packages, when they have really damaged skin, it's really correlated with loads of other whole body problems, like food allergies is a huge one, isn't it? So there's this massive hidden and kind of secret correlation between skin problems and food allergies, which we see on a daily basis with everyone, thousands of people we work with across the world. And it's kind of the one thing which no one ever talks about. And I know, yeah, we'll get onto it, but there was similar research which came out a couple of weeks ago, wasn't there? We can get onto that later.
Yeah, but so my job in this is, because you're the head researcher or the head of research, my job in this is, like we said before, is to not only grill you, but also to make sure that, well, both of us talk in terms that is good for explaining to a 6-year-old, as Einstein said, because if you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it. And then, well, if there are any small amount of jargon, long words, then we've got to explain there. So
that's good. I haven't really got more intelligence since I was about 6 anyway, so it's good for me. And I know it's good for you as well, Sam, isn't it?
Well, yeah. That's as far as I can go. But as we know, the more jargon and longer words people use, the more or less they understand about it. So if you can condense it down so that someone can understand the concepts, it means you really understand the problems and therefore the solutions. So we're going to come on to that. So Kit, I love the headline. Let's go into it. I've read the article, and I know it's based on a lot of different research, but they talk firstly in this article about...
Hold on 1 second, Sam. Just say where the article was published, which shows a bit more how mainstream this is becoming.
Well, okay, that's your question to answer. Where is it published?
All right, okay. So it's published. It was a news article in The Independent, but for our American audience who have haven't got Scooby-Doo what The Independent or any UK newspapers are, The Independent is one of the top newspapers in the UK. I can't think of an American equivalent because I don't really know the landscape here. But yeah, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't. That's a good point. I don't know what the equivalent would be, but it's one of the main papers in England. So, like you said, it's starting to become mainstream. And your research on how the skin causes, or your latest published paper on how the skin causes a whole host of whole body diseases was picked up by the Washington Post. So the tide is turning on our research, and you're on the forefront of it.
Exactly. And picked up by 80 other media outlets, including The Guardian, dare I say,
Well,
and Russell as well. Yes. Carry on.
exactly. No, but that's a very good point. So it's starting, after we've been talking and shouting about it for years, it's starting to turn the tide on understanding how important the skin is for whole body health. So now I want to go, and so it's talking about how damaged skin, especially young damaged skin, if a food is introduced to that skin, that this can actually cause the food allergies itself. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So we talked about the whole peanut allergy study a couple of weeks ago, and this is exactly the same thing. As you say, it's quite important when you're young because your immune system and your body is being trained to find out which things in the environment could be a threat to it. So that's why it's important, as the other study a couple of weeks ago showed, to eat these foods so our body gets used to them. But yeah.
Well, as for anyone, because we're not going to go into that now, we can't go into every subject. So, but
we can link to it though.
Yeah, we're going to link to that video, and that was talking about how the advice of staying away from eating things like peanuts when you're young actually could have caused all of these food allergies, or hugely exacerbated the number. So that's really important, especially in conjunction with what we're talking about today. So I just used the big word in conjunction, especially with what we're talking about today. So the first thing I picked up on this kit was it talked about there is an allergy epidemic in, well, it doesn't say the Western world, but there's an allergy epidemic. What is an allergy epidemic?
The allergy epidemic. Well, we're going through a huge chronic disease epidemic in the Western world. It just means the explosion of these so-called chronic diseases. But allergy epidemic is one of the biggest parts of this chronic disease epidemic. So there's a huge explosion in the last 100 or so years, or more than that, of allergies, whether they be food allergies, respiratory allergies, or skin allergies. And
Okay.
yeah.
So I want to
I just say also in the theme of our podcast as well, and everything you said about Einstein, which I totally agree with. Also, because I hate these podcasts where they're just like backslappy podcasts. I really want you to and play the advocate role of the person who's the skeptic about all of this, even though I know it and you talk to me on a daily basis.
Well, yeah. So, but the point is though that, and this is where the best research or the best anything comes from. You have to be able to 100% completely question your own ideas to get better research. So for us, this is, it's very normal. So Kit, I want you to explain and give a grand vision of what an allergy is.
Allergy, that's a good question. Well, really simple explanation for a 6-year-old is really when our body comes into contact with something which causes the immune system to go into panic mode, where it basically goes into the mode where it sees this thing as a threat and it needs to shut down. Yeah.
That's sort of what
you can get from things which are actually very dangerous and toxic, like for example, the huge rise in toxic chemicals in our environment. So you can get contact allergies from things like this. And that's right, because the body's right to see that as a threat. These toxic chemicals are very damaging to the body. But the big rise in these allergies is often things which aren't actually a threat to the body, really. So things like food allergies, things which normally the body would be fine with, but they've turned into something which the immune system sees as a threat.
Yeah, well, that's what the interesting part, isn't it? This explosion, this allergy epidemic in things that aren't actually a threat. So like you said, if things were a threat, then the body would be right in reacting like that. And that's why we have the immune system.
Mhm.
But so this article talks about the allergy epidemic, probably one of the first things that we coined, the skin allergy epidemic, many years ago. So we have this allergy epidemic, which is crazy because we talk to, how many people do we talk to who are older than us? And they say, peanut allergies and food allergies, no one had them in my day. But now you have to go down the register, say you're in kindergarten or whatever, and there's loads of people with peanut allergy, whatever allergy.
Exactly, yeah. So it's that massive explosion in predominantly the Western world of these things which really people didn't really struggle with, even as close as our parents growing up time. So yeah, we've got this huge chronic disease epidemic, and one of the biggest things we are trying to do is to work to roll back the chronic disease epidemic across the Western world, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah, and obviously allergies are a big part of that. So we started on the skin allergies, but now our latest research, and again, this is something we can talk about in another podcast, Sam, but our latest research is showing that actually all of our work on the skin and skin allergies could be having a knock-on effect to the whole body and other allergies, like food allergies, which is what this research and this article is all about.
Which is brilliant how this is so important. So in the article, each sort of sub-headlines with skin is now recognized as playing an important role as the gatekeeper for the body's immune system. So can you just explain what that bit means?
Well, I mean, to us, it's really obvious, isn't it? If you're, again, let's go back to the first principles, as you call it, Sam, all right? Are you okay with me doing that?
Yeah, just don't go. I would love to go into equations, but don't go into that.
No, we'll keep it really simple. But you call it in physics, deriving everything from first principles, which is a fancy way of saying just going from the simple building blocks so everyone understands everything we're doing. So here, the immune system, what is it? The immune system really is just the whole system and mechanisms within our body, which is set up by the body to protect us from threats. So things in our environment which could potentially cause us harm. So, sorry, I can't remember your question, Sam.
Well, I said the quote that I really liked from this article was, and it sounds very similar to what you would say, skin is now... Say again?
The gatekeeper's story, yes. Okay.
Yeah, the gatekeeper for the body's immune system. So what's the phrase that you say?
I don't know which phrase.
Well, you always say that the skin is now the first line of defense.
Sorry, yeah. So again, this is why to us it's really obvious, but lots of people don't really see the skin or the skin microbiome, which is just the ecosystem on the skin, as being part of the immune system. They say it helps it or something like that, and they always imply that it's kind of separate, which is ridiculous, really, because the immune system in the body is just one big interlinked system. And the skin microbiome in the skin is so important for the immune system because it is the gatekeeper or the first line of defense. If we come into contact with something in our environment, where does it usually go through first? The vast majority of the time, where it's our skin, isn't it? Unless we inhale it or ingest it, which are both a lot rarer. But if we come into contact with something harmful in our environment, the vast majority of the time, it's going to come in contact with the skin first. So it's a bit like, I see the immune system a bit like, when you watch films and there's a town under attack, a medieval town under attack, something like that. The immune system, they just have all of this system, including the outer walls and the arches on the walls, set up to protect the whole town so the invaders can't come in. So I see the immune system a bit like that. But the first line of defense, the outer walls and the arches on the walls, is the skin microbiome.
Getting a bit Lord of the Rings feelings there. So
I was trying to a simple analogy which people can think of. And again,
I like it.
No one would say in no one would say, well, the outer walls and the arches on the walls are not part of the defense system of the whole town, would they? So I don't know why they say the same of the skin.
Yeah. And so you could think of an allergy as when they see one of their own people coming into the town, the archers shoot them.
That's
Something like that.
That's a really good analogy, and that's what happens in a lot of these allergies and these chronic diseases, or what they call things like autoimmune disease, is where the immune system reacts to things which aren't threats, as you say.
Yeah. And it actually has a detrimental effect to the bodies, like anaphylaxis. So it's reacting so hard and reacting to things that are actually helpful to your body and staying alive, basically. So, okay, so I like this. So we've got gatekeepers. That was a good analogy there. We've got the first line of defense. I know a lot of people who talk with us from the health sphere, they still, like you were saying, they still don't see the skin as the first line of defense. But let's go even back. For most people listening, just seeing the skin as sort of like an organ, even though a lot of people say it, it's quite a newfangled concept, isn't it? Why is that?
Again,
What do people think? What do people think the skin just is, really?
well, they just think, I always use the term, but so you're going to wince when I say it, but they always use, I always use the term just saying, a lot of people just think it's like a tarpaulin sheet which you stretch over the bones and muscles, a bit like a bin bag over a scarecrow or something like that. So really, they just think it's this inanimate sheet which you can just douse in petrol and do whatever the hell you like to it, and nothing bad is really going to happen as a result of it. Whereas everyone treats what they the gut, and they're very careful about what they eat and the chemicals they put in their gut, but very happy to absolutely napalm the whole skin and just pour chemicals over it every single day. Anyway, we digress. But
no, but that's a good reasoning, because what I'm looking at is the problem here. We're going to go into the causes and solutions. So if people think that this is just a sheet that you need to basically, if it gets dirty or whatever, you just need to blast it and clean it, like a car hood and the out exterior of a car, you just go through a wash and just use the harshest chemicals possible, because it doesn't affect you sitting inside the car. But the skin isn't like that. The skin is directly connected to us, really, isn't it? So I want to know what that kind of thinking is doing in terms of damaging our skin.
well, yeah, damaging not only our skin health but our whole body health as well. But the great thing about this article in the Independent is showing that if you have damaged skin, actually, it's going into this new paradigm. Skin isn't just, if you harm the skin, it doesn't just affect the skin, or it's not very important. It's showing that actually, if you have damaged skin, this can lead to very serious food allergies, some of which can be actually not life-threatening. So it goes against the whole mainstream idea that food allergies, and we'll stick to food allergies at the moment, but it goes against the whole preconceived mainstream idea that food allergies were just a gut problem. Actually, what a lot of the research is showing at the moment, including the one last week, is that many of these food allergies, especially in younger life, can start through the skin.
Right. So like first line of defense again. So it sounds like it's important to...
I think it's important to narrow in for the moment, and then we'll broaden it out at the end. But this is just showing that really, and even the idea that the skin is causing these food allergies is trying to cross over to the mainstream, as we saw in the Independent article. Can't remember the journalist who did it, but that's obviously, they're obviously quite forward thinking, as opposed to many scientists who are still many years back, aren't they?
Okay. So, right. So then damage. So you're saying, just tell me an overview of the mechanism of how that would work with damaged skin causing food allergies.
Well, if you have damaged skin and a damaged ecosystem of the skin, and you come into contact with some kind of food in your environment, what they're saying is the food can then go into the body, and the body and the immune system will see it as a threat. So every time you introduce it from then on, even when you're eating it, the body.
Wait, so let's just be clear. So how did the body initially encounter the food?
Well, through the skin.
Okay, so no, that's important. You say well through this. That's the most important point. So this study, what did it focus on? It did. What did it show?
Oh, sure. Sorry. So yeah,
It's the most important part.
yeah, it's just talking about how if you experience a type of food in our environment through damaged skin first, this can cause the immune system to see it as a threat all the time in the.
Wait, yeah, no, but experienced or what? That seems quite a vague word. What happened to the food on the skin?
Well, it touched in it and it went into the pass through.
Okay, so you're saying that. Give an example for a peanut. How would that work?
Well, for example, if you have very damaged skin, you come into contact with a peanut. So, for example, you pick it up, something like that, or some peanut residue or whatever you call it left behind goes on your skin. Actually, as they call it, the food allergens can actually pass through, and then this stimulates a response from the immune system and the skin, which in the future means the body always sees it as a threat. So it always has an immune response to it.
Interesting. So, okay, so that's what I'm just trying to make it the simplest possible. So a peanut touches damaged skin, right?
Yeah. So if your skin is.
Yeah. Cool. So peanut touches damaged skin. Because it's damaged, the body then develops and knows the peanut and then develops an immune response to that peanut, right?
Yeah. So it can pass through as the skin is damaged. And then the immune cells in the skin would then release what they call chemical signals of attack, to quote the independent journalists.
Okay.
Yeah. It goes into alert mode because it sees this, it hasn't seen this before, and it sees this peanut as a threat. So then it does all the processes, which are the signs of this being a threat.
Yeah, cool. That's fine. You don't need to go into the detail. You want a picture of what happens, just an overview of it.
And then the problem is, especially when you're young, when you go to eat a peanut in the future, your body will remember this because it has a memory, the immune system, and it will already be primed to see this as a threat, and it will be primed to have that same immune response to it.
Right. Okay, so that then causes the allergy. Okay, cool. So we sorted that.
So every time from then on you come into contact with this, you might try and eat it. Actually, you have the same response because they remember it as a threat because it happened, because the peanut was first introduced through damaged skin. And that's the crucial point there.
So that's really interesting because when we talked about last week about in having to introduce peanuts early to the diet instead of worrying about them, you could have a fatal reaction on your baby. This now, if the baby has damaged skin, say eczema, like it says in the article, and the peanut touches it before they even fed the baby peanuts, it could have developed that allergy, which is very, very worrying.
Yeah. And that was the headline, really. I know we talked about this last week, Sam, but that was the headline, which was completely buried in all of that peanut study we talked about last week. So by introducing the big headline was that in these media outlets like ABC, the Washington Post, New York Times, was that peanut allergies have plummeted in young children since they started introducing them to, well, basically eating peanuts early in their early life. But the massive headline they missed was the reason this worked was because then these babies, they wouldn't come into contact with these peanuts through their skin first, which is where the allergies often originate. That's why it worked so well, because they were being introduced through the gut, the proper means, and then their body didn't.
Correct. Amazing. Right. Why? I mean, again, that like you said, was buried because people didn't really understand or even see the significance of that.
Yeah.
To me, that seems a massive conclusion.
Yeah, so they're still a bit behind. Their worldview is still like, as I normally say, 20 years in the past or so. So they can't quite get the pieces together and see actually what the really important implication of this is. So, as we said last week, this independent article and this research actually just shows us that really strengthening the skin and the skin microbiome is so important for defending against food allergies as well, which is one of many whole body things we talk about, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, but that was a massive headline. Is there any? Because I want to make sure. Is there any pushback against this? I know people don't understand it, but is there any pushback against this understanding?
What do you mean by pushback?
Well, as we know, people don't listen to it and think it's wrong. Is there any pushback by, say, doctors, medical institutions?
Well, yeah, in general, this is anecdotal experience from who we come into contact with, but everyone who sagely nowadays says that the skin is one big system and every part is linked. They never include the skin in. So there is a huge amount of pushback because people just still don't see the skin as very important for these things. So even though the independent article and lots of this research is now showing that the skin is a huge factor in food allergies, still it's not percolating through to the health officials.
Well, okay. Well, we can do another one. I want to ask you more about that, but we can do another. There's so many things to talk about, but I want to go on. So we've seen the problem. There was a massive skin or allergy epidemic, but skin allergy epidemic on the rise. We're starting to see how damaged skin is causing or a major factor in these food allergies. So if that's the cause, well, I want to talk about the cause of damaged skin, but we can do that in another podcast. Now I want to know, because this paper says in terms of treatment in general, skin may provide a route to prevention as well as a treatment for life-threatening allergies in general. So skin may provide a route to prevention.
That's really
and treatment.
And again, this journalist, and this is where investigative journalists obviously are really, really good like that. So she's obviously ahead of the curve, whereas it's going to take a long time to percolate through to the slow scientists and maybe medical profession. So yeah, I really like how she said that. What was the second part of her quote?
Well, skin may provide a route to prevention as well as treatment for life-threatening allergies and injuries.
That was it. So she obviously gets the huge importance of the skin when she says a route to prevention, not just treatment, because she understands that instead of just being this, people see the skin as really an outward sign of something which is happening within the body. They don't see it as actually having a direct effect on the body and the rest of the body, like food allergies. So she's obviously seen that actually, no, the skin has a direct effect on these things.
Okay. So your research where you're saying, or our research, but I'm trying to be the questioner, where you're saying that the skin has a direct effect on the whole body, is starting to be backed up by everyone else now.
Absolutely, yeah. So we were the first. There's been articles sporadic here and there, very good ones, but sporadic. No one's really joined the dots. But they've shown how important skin is for whole body health problems, not just the skin. But what we did for the first time in 2023 in our published research, we showed that, or we hypothesized that the skin could be, or damaged skin could be a major factor in this chronic disease epidemic we're seeing, which is exploding across the Western world. So we joined all the dots and said, actually, there's one piece which everyone overlooks when we're talking about this chronic disease epidemic, and that's the skin.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. So now, because I want to wrap it up soon, I mean, that's a massive point. We can talk for hours on that. We can go and do another.
If you want some, I can do a 20-second summary like I always do.
Well, let's do that at the end. So the last bit is because this asks for, obviously, when things go to the masses, it's because people have a severe problem and they want to find a route to prevention and treatment, don't they? So this article then talks about treatment. So it starts off talking about, well, the treatment of severe allergic reactions. So they're talking about anaphylaxis, and obviously they're talking about the normal things and steroids being used for long term. But I want to talk about steroids used for those reactions. But I want to talk about the actual treatment and the prevention side, because that's the most important part to me. If there's been a massive increase in these allergies, then there must be something in our environment that's causing this. And so we must be looking at that to prevent, instead of just waiting until it comes around and treating horrible allergies as they come.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's the same thing in every podcast we do. So I'll leave the whole discussion around what's causing this to another podcast. But I think,
okay, there's one question that I've got coming up that you're going to have to talk a bit about that. But yeah, go on.
All right. Okay. I was just going to say the crux of this here, or the really important point to make here, is that really the skin allergy epidemic isn't isolated. It's linked to the wider chronic disease epidemic. So as we always say, Sam, again, I'll keep it short, but everyone in the Western world has damaged skin, sometimes up to 84% more than our ancestors on really bad cases. But this is not just bad for people's skin. This is wreaking havoc. Basically, due to our new research joining all the dots, this is wreaking havoc on our whole body health, including food, which is what this article is saying.
Yeah. So it's now talking about, goes into prevention a bit. Although it says prevention, they always talk about treatment first, which is always interesting to me. But people are always in the mindset of treatment rather than prevention.
Well,
but now with the movement, say especially in America, like Make America Healthy Again, which is always talking about lifestyle and prevention rather than treatment, which we're huge proponents of the Make America Healthy Again movement. So this study actually it says two things which are of import. So it says some studies are starting to look at and see whether emollients or show even that emollients or moisturizers are used to improve the skin barrier and therefore stop these allergies. What do you think?
How shall I say a diplomatic answer, or shall I?
No, go all in on what you think.
Do I have license to be totally honest?
Of course, yeah.
I'm probably a bit short, trying to choose my words carefully, but
yeah, a bit short though.
Emollients and moisturizers is absolutely not the way to go, because there's multiple reasons why they're not good for the skin. The main one, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the main one being they're often full of synthetic chemicals which destroy the skin, its ecosystem, the microbiome, and just further make you even more susceptible to all of these skin problems and food allergies. So no.
Well, I mean, you've obviously said that very confidently. Why? I want to know two things. Why have you said that so confidently?
Well, one, I hear that so often they talk about emollients, and I don't know whether there's some kind of, again, we're in America, so there's a bit more of this stuff. I don't know whether there's some kind of vested interest in always promoting emollients and stuff as the solution, but it always seems to come up. I don't know.
But why do you say it so confidently that that's completely not the way to go? Have you done research on this?
Yeah, there's a huge amount of research out there. We've done research ourselves showing how synthetic chemicals in modern cosmetics disrupt the skin microbiome and harm your skin.
But why is that important?
Because then that leads to skin problems, skin allergies, chronic disease epidemic.
Okay, so I mean, I would say that's our main area of research, but yeah,
I mean, again, we're fitting a lot in here, which is good, but I'm trying.
I know, but I'm just, yeah. Okay, so then the way,
So let's simplify it. Things like emollients are often like putting a plaster on a wound. You're not really dealing with the underlying cause. So, and you're making the underlying cause often a lot worse. So
and what do you think, in your view, from having researched this, and this is why you're world leader in the skin microbiome, what could be the cause of this massive damaged skin epidemic that we're seeing?
well, one of the biggest things we've seen is toxic chemicals in everyday cosmetics, which we're just throwing at our skin on a daily basis.
Okay, so thing I'm trying to get at is that, and I don't want to become the speaker instead of the questioner, but it seems to me as if there's a huge amount of these skin allergies and food allergies developing, it shows that there's something in the environment again causing damaged skin. So that's what I was trying to get at. So the last thing that they said was the deliberate application of food to the skin early to get, like they did with the gut, to get it in, get the immune system used to it. What do you think?
I mean, that may help a little bit, but if your skin is damaged anyway,
There we go.
sorry, there's no
That's
point introducing it through the skin, as we found. Even with that other research, it's saying that you need to introduce it through the gut first, and even then, it might not be the best. What do you need to do?
Well, but I think you hit the nail on the head. The point is, when they're introducing it young. This is where they're saying that the food allergies come from. The point is that when you introduce it to damaged skin, then that's what is the problem. So there's no point introducing it early, because that's what's happening at the moment, and it's being introduced to damaged skin. So if they had healthy skin, great, but just introducing it to damaged skin sounds like, again, that is partly what's causing all of this.
Yeah, and I also think that what the research last week in America showed, actually, no, you need to introduce it early through the gut, so ingest it. And again, that might solve a little bit of the problem as well.
Yeah. So Kia, I went, because I think we've run over time, but it's been brilliant discussion. Can you sum up basically 30 seconds what this article and its implications are?
Okay, so the independent article talked about how actually huge amount of food allergies are because we have damaged skin. And the implications for this are actually, one, because it's in the independent, this idea that skin is involved in food allergies is becoming much more mainstream. But then also, if we want to combat food allergies, we need to get healthy skin.
Brilliant. I like that summing up.
I tried to keep it to 20 seconds. That was probably over, but I think that's...
No, that's what's needed. All this talk around it is, well, it's interesting for us, but that's what's needed so people know the takeaway, and also the severe implications that they're doing of damaging their skin, which they are.
You're right. A severe implication, if we keep on going in the way we're going, destroying the skin, as we've been saying, this is going to have really, really bad negative effects on whole body health, including our food allergy problem is just going to get worse.
Brilliant. And I think that was what, again, that's what's helpful to people rather than just talking about studies. So
yeah,
brilliant discussion there. To me, that's so interesting, as this is our field, but it's so interesting that all of your research is starting again to be proved in the wider sphere.